Now, let's look at how Baruch Spinoza introduces his book, Theologico-political Treatise. So, his the preface, I can say, like the introduction of the book, he basically tells us what he thinks about or what he wants to cover in the book, and mostly talks about he saw superstition as the problem when it comes to religion. To him, the problem with religion is superstition, and he says his issue is the mistaking of superstition for religion. Like that was his major problem. He didn't have a problem with religion per se. He had a problem with the dogmas, the creation of this theater so that to exploit the ignorance of the masses. That was his major problem with religion. And here is what, and he says the origin of superstition is problems like fear. In fact, fear, not problems. Like the origin of superstition is fear. So when this religion is used on the masses, usually to exploit the fear of the masses, then you create these superstitious belief sets and whatever. So he says men will never be superstitious if they will govern all their circumstances by set rules, or if they were always favored by fortune, but being frequently driven into straits where rules are useless and being often kept fluctuating perpetually between hope and fear, and by the uncertainty of the fortune's greedily coveted favors, they are consequently, for the most part, very prone to credulity. So, he says fear is where the superstitions come from. And there's a lot of fear, of course, in the society, at the individual level, at a group level. And when that fear is so much, that's when superstition come in. This this, as a general fact, I suppose everyone knows, though few, I believe their own nature. No one can have lived in the world without observing that most people, when in prosperity, are so overbrimming with wisdom that they take every offer of advice as personal insult, and whereas in adversity they know not where to turn, but beg and pray for counsel from every passerby. So, which I found to be so accurate that when everything is going well in your life, your money is right, your family is right, your health is right, you seem to be very wise, and you are less likely to fall into the traps of superstition. But when things start going south, then now you can take anything that comes by. You can take any message that anybody throws at you, as long as it kind of gives you hope. And there's also a line he says that the mob has no ruler more potent than superstition. There's another book I'm reading, The History of Rome, and it is interesting, the beginning of Rome, how the writer describes it, and especially during the second king, I think, and how he builds religion as part of the running of the state. And I found this line made a lot of sense having read that part of this history of Rome, because I realized, religion has never been, this idea of religion being separate from the state is, if I might call it, not natural. The religion has always been part of the state because it serves a very important function of managing society. But he says, regardless, the state needs to afford people the freedom to believe whatever they want to believe and to say whatever they want to say. Freedom of speech and freedom of worship. That is his main argument, in fact, in a lot of parts of the book. So he says we should also be careful about giving power to the ecclesiastics, which are religious leaders, because he says most of them are just good at playing with the emotions, playing with the fear. They are not giving anything good, really. So we have to be very careful when you let them have some political power, because that can be a little bit dangerous. So yeah, so those are some of the things he says. And of course, I mentioned that he says you don't have to read the book if you don't have a philosophical interest. Don't read it. In fact, that's what he says.